Today is Friday, August 8th, 2014, and we are interviewing Fran Libowitz at the Brooklyn Public Library, Kingsway. Miss Libowitz is 83 years. My name is Sharon Palmer, and I'll be the interviewer. We are recording this conversation for the Brooklyn Public Library, Our Streets, Our Stories. Fran, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay.
I should
Okay.
turn it off.
So, Fran, can you tell me about where you grew up?
Yes, I grew up. My voice is
That's all right.
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in the Sheepshead Bay area, and that's it.
Who were your parents and what were their occupations?
Okay, my parents both American, and my father was a truck driver, and my mother, she was just a home keeper.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes, I have a sister who's older than me, and I had a 3-year-old sister who died at that age, when she was 3 years old, and a baby that was born not alive to my mother, who happened to die also in giving birth. So after 10 years old, I didn't have a mother.
After what?
I said after I was 10 years old, I didn't have a mother anymore.
Oh, she passed away.
She passed away giving birth.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if my voice is, if you can hear it.
Okay, I can hear you. Please talk about what role the library played in your life growing up.
Oh, a lot. I was reading books that I didn't have to read. Just that I wanted to since I was very, very young. That was a big part of my life. And we had a library in Sheepshead Bay, and I was at that library quite often. In fact, once I was thrown out of that library because I was with my fingers playing scales, just, moving them, and the person told me, I'm disturbing the peace, I don't know how to get out.
That must have been traumatic. So, how often would you say you went to the library as a child?
It's hard to say, I don't know. Whenever I was ready for the next book.
You would go to the library.
And I also bought books.
Oh, you also bought books,
Yeah.
in addition to going to the library to borrow
Yes.
books. Okay. Can you tell me about which elementary school you attended?
Yes, I attended first PS 206, and the day that PS 254 opened, we walked from 206 to 254, and we were the first class in PS 254.
Now, 254 was what type of school? Is it a middle school?
It's 1 to 8, first grade to 8th grade.
But you started in PS 206.
Yeah, but I went to PS 254 when I was in 3rd grade.
Okay. Can you tell me about any of the teachers at PS 206 and PS 254?
254, there was a Mrs. Stay, S-T-E-A, I think. Mr. Solid, he was a science teacher. Mrs. Ball, I think she was a math teacher. And I don't remember anymore.
What was it about the teachers that you liked?
I liked the idea. They were actually looking very professional at that time, but I didn't realize it then. If they were able to teach well, there was no fooling around or any discipline problems at all then. You went to school and you had to learn.
Did you have any favorite subjects?
In elementary school, no. In high school, maybe.
Which high school did you attend?
James Madison.
James Madison. Did any of the teachers at James Madison make an impact on your life?
The German teacher, he did, Mr. Schwartz.
The German teacher?
Yeah. In fact, I got a medal at the end of my 4 years there. The Spanish teachers, I don't remember the names, but I was good in languages, so I liked both the Spanish and the German teacher.
Okay, so you took both German and Spanish?
And Spanish.
Okay. Do you remember much about the German or Spanish language now? No.
Yeah, if you don't use it, you
I
lose
know.
it.
That's what they say. Okay, can we switch a little bit to growing up? Can you tell me about the people in your neighborhood when you were growing up in Sheepshead Bay?
Okay. I was very fat. I was like 160 pounds when I was 10 years old. So, of course, the children, of course, used to make fun, you know. They would say fat and skinny had a race, you know. They had all those little sayings, you know, that were insulting. But I had 2 or 3 very good friends that I still know, that I still speak to.
To this day?
Huh? Yeah, to this day.
That's good.
On the phone, because they don't live in New York.
Right. But it's amazing that you've still maintained that connection. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that's about all in about the elementary school. No, we were up to Madison.
Okay, Madison. Now, what about the people in the neighborhood?
They were all, you know, we were in one-family houses, little one-family houses, and those were days of the air raid, when they blew the air raid. We had an air raid store on the corner, because that was during the war.
Well, this was during World War II?
Yeah. Yeah, so we had an air raid, I don't know if you would call it a store, but they took care of the neighborhood in case people, you know, with the sirens and making sure that everything was taken care of with the cars. Had to have light. They painted over the headlights to make it safe. But as far as people in the neighborhood, just typical neighbors.
So let me go back to the air raids. Did the sirens go off a lot during World War II?
You know, I don't remember that, but we did have air raid. You know, we had to learn how to go underneath the desk. If you hear the sirens, I don't remember ever hearing sirens.
Right, but you had to prepare for
the children in school were prepared for it.
What was life growing up during the time of the war? Was it, that would have been like afterwards, where people would have been not having enough food to eat? Some people have told me that they were like, you know, food was scarce.
Yes,
How was it at that time?
We had meatless Monday or meatless Tuesday.
Meatless Monday and Tuesday?
You couldn't buy meat in the store.
Okay. So who decided meatless Monday and Tuesday?
I guess,
the people in the store?
No, I think it was a general thing. I don't know if it was the whole, no, it wouldn't have been the whole country. I guess it was where we lived. I know that we couldn't do that.
So no one could buy meat on Mondays or Tuesdays?
Yeah.
And
I don't remember what day it was. It could have been Monday or Tuesday.
But there was like one day a week where it was like no meat allowed to be purchased?
You know, I know that we never bought it. And I don't know if the butchers weren't allowed to sell it. It was meatless Monday, meatless Tuesday. You know.
Okay. Was there anything else you remember about growing up during the World War II time?
What I remember is Floyd Bennett Field. You know Floyd Bennett Field?
Yes.
We weren't allowed. He used to bicycle there. We weren't allowed to be on the same side of the street as Floyd Bennett Field because it was considered an airfield. So anytime we went, we had to cross over and be on the other side. We were never allowed to do that when I was a child, bicycle. And as far as anything else, we used to go to the school lot to play ball. And so, yeah.
Now, when you grew up in Sheepshead Bay, what type of families were there? Were they Irish, Italians, Jewish?
Very mixed.
Very mixed, diverse families. Okay, so that means it's similar as it is today in the year 2014 because it's very diverse now too as well.
Yeah.
I've heard about the railroad with the African American population. Were you near to that?
Railroad.
It's a community in Sheepshead Bay? No, you weren't near to that.
I know that I know that there was sort of the white people were sort of on one side, and then, where the train is on 16th Street, on the other side, I think any of the couple of black children that we had in school came from that side. So basically we were...
A racetrack. I think it was a racetrack or something like that.
Yeah, that I
Yes.
don't,
Okay.
I don't know.
Can you tell me what sort of activities your friends did for fun?
We would play Monopoly. We would play Big Apple, other games. Or we would go to someone's house and play piano and sing, or a bicycle ride, and playing ball, hit the penny. Because children just were able to do anything then, and we never had to worry about them.
So as you grew older, as a teenager, did the activities change? Like, for instance, did you go to the movies a lot? What other activities?
We did go to the movies, yeah, together. And they used to have two main pictures, the news and a cartoon. They had all of that. In other words, you would be there for at least good 3-4 hours when you went to the movies.
Do you remember what the price was years
No.
ago? Because somebody told me, one of the previous interviewees said that the price was $1. No, I think it was 75 cents.
That sounds a little bit too expensive.
Okay, so yours was even less at that
Yes,
time.
I would think less.
Yeah.
Oh, then Coney Island, we would go to Coney Island. If we went to Nathan's, everything was a nickel, 5
A
cents,
nickel for a hot dog?
and a nickel for a hamburger. And they had something called, it was a roast beef, I forgot what they called that sandwich. Everything was a nickel. But that was before 39.
1939,
Yeah,
before the
it was-
war started.
Well, because in 1939, I'm mixing it up now, and Wizard of Oz opened. And I remember we went to Nathan's, everything was 5 cents, and then we went to the movies to see the Wizard of Oz. So I think some of the information you have, like after.
Depends on when people were born.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you remember any of the names of the movie theaters that you went to years ago?
Yeah, I do. Sheepshead Bay, they had the Sheepshead Theater, the Sheldon. The Sheldon was like privately owned, and the Sheepshead and the Sheldon. And on Avenue U, there was the Avenue U, the Mayfair, and the Kingsway. They had a lot of theaters then.
A lot of theaters. Well, somebody had told me too that there was a place here that a lot of teenagers hung out called Martin's. Are you familiar with Martin's? Right here, Nostrand and Avenue W. A couple of years ago.
Oh, a couple of
Yeah.
years
I'm not sure
ago,
exactly
because
how
I'm going way back.
Oh, you're going way back from the World War II.
Was that?
So back then was the Cyclones? No, the Cyclones wasn't there.
Oh,
They came long after.
No, Coney Island had
Coney
the whip.
Island.
The whip was like a big deal, the merry-go-round. I think they had that.
So they had an amusement park even
Oh,
back then.
yeah, Coney Island, yes. They had steeplechase. Did you ever hear of steeplechase?
I've heard of the name, but I'm not sure what it is.
They had, what was the other one? Steeplechase, and I can't think of the other one. That was a big one.
So I guess Coney Island was popular then as
Oh,
it is
very-
now.
Yeah, it was much more popular then, I think. Because that was a place to go. Here there are too many extra things to do than to go to Coney Island. That was popular.
Okay, so let's talk about your experiences growing up in the neighborhood. How did it affect your life?
I don't know. I would say growing up in the neighborhood made me into a good person because I wasn't looking, I didn't look for trouble, and I had good friends, and I think it was a nice place to grow up.
Was it a time where people looked out for each other in the community? Was it more community-oriented, or?
No, because I was too young to probably to even think that. But I do think so, yes. Because I remember when my mother got sick, when she was sick, the neighbors were sort of concerned maybe to take me in if I needed someplace to go. Yeah. Just the ones that are closer to you, not the entire block.
So let me just go back a little bit to talk about your mother. After she passed away, did you stay at home with your father, or did you go to other relatives?
I stayed at home with my father and my sister. But then, for some strange reason, my sister ran away from home and Matt got married when she was 16. And then I was alone with my father. And that was okay, except that I was alone a lot. But I had, like I said, I had good friends.
You went to the library and read books and wrote books, so at least it was good.
Yeah, in fact, this is a funny incident. We had a lot of department stores downtown Brooklyn. We had A&S and Goodwin's and Mays, a bunch of stores. And in the A&S, you were able to go in and buy books very reasonably, like 39 cents a book. And I remember calling my father, because I wouldn't dare spend the 39 cents unless I knew it was okay. And I remember calling him on the phone where he worked and asked if I could buy that book. The book was Lost Horizon. Did you ever hear of it?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's one of the classics.
Yeah.
Yes. So what was his response?
Oh, yeah. He never said no. I never asked for that much. But, what was the I was going to tell you something else with that. No.
You said there were department stores?
Oh,
Downtown,
yeah.
Mays, A&S, well, they're not around anymore.
No, A&S was a very popular. It was a big one. That was a big store. It had a lot of floors.
So is it similar to like Macy's as we know it today?
Yeah, I think it would be more like Macy's than any of the other ones that were there. Macy's, yeah, I would say so.
And what about Mays?
Mays was an inexpensive store for people who really couldn't afford. A lot of my clothes came from Mays. Very simple, not expensive.
Can you talk about, in your opinion, how the neighborhood has changed? Whether you think it has changed for the better or for the worse? Compare it then to now.
Okay, compare. Oh, I did live someplace else at one short time. I'll have to backtrack to that.
Okay, we can.
And I would think it's better now in a way, because it's more diversity. And people are getting more accepting and everything. Than we were then.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I should say I lived in Canarsie also. And I lived with my sister for 2 years because when my father died, I was alone. I was 15 years old. She was not that much older than me, but she was married. So I lived with her for 2 years on Ocean Parkway.
So after 2 years of living with your sister, what happened?
Thank goodness I met my husband.
Okay. So then you got married and got your own
I
home.
got married when I was 18.
Yes.
But that was the best thing that happened to me in my life. The next best thing was that I had 3 children. And the next best thing is what I learned. I took a course in Braille. You know what Braille is?
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a job, which I just retired from. I worked at the Lighthouse for the Blind for 29 years. Just retired in April.
April of 2014?
Yeah, that's when I came to the library. Because I said, I'm going to be home now. I have to be connected to someplace. I know that I'm mixing you up.
No, that's okay, that's fine. It's a conversation we're having. I'm really enjoying it. What I wanted to ask you is, what was Canarsie like back then when you lived with your sister for 2 years? This was like what time?
I lived on Ocean Parkway with my sister.
Oh, it wasn't Canarsie?
No, Canarsie is when we left, when we moved to Canarsie. I should have told you that.
Okay, so you lived in Canarsie as a child or
No, I was
teenager?
I was already married with children.
Oh, so when you got married, you went to Canarsie to live.
We lived in East New York for a short time with an aunt because we were very young. I was 18 when we got married, and then we moved to Canarsie. We were there for 43 years.
And so now you're back in this side of
Yes, I went.
Sheepshead.
Yeah, I'm back in my old zip code. I was in 11229, and I'm back in 11229.
So when you moved to Canarsie, did you use the library also at Canarsie? Did you have the time to go to the library?
I would use that for the children.
The children.
Yeah, I was still always reading. like if I got into like when I was working, I took the train, I always had a book with me to go back and forth.
Can you tell me, like, when you first moved to Canarsie, what was it like? Because from one of the previous interviewees, she said that she remembers when Canarsie was like, I think it was swampland, she referred to it.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit about that?
When we moved in the new houses, my husband worked as a tile setter, and he happened to be put, in a row of houses in Canarsie to put the tile in the bathrooms. And he said, since we want to leave East New York, which we were only there for a short time, he said, maybe I should find out about if we could buy a house like this. But we couldn't do it ourselves. And my sister-in-law and brother-in-law wanted to move too. So we bought one house. They were in one upstairs. We were in the middle, and my in-laws were down in the basement. And we stayed like that until when did we move? I don't even remember the date. 2000, we stayed there until 2001. And the reason being that my daughter, the younger daughter, needed an apartment, and I had to move because my husband had passed away. So we said, let's just sell the house and move, because she needed an apartment, a big enough apartment for herself.
Okay, because your daughter has her own family now?
Oh yeah, she's 55, and my older one is 60. And as a matter of fact, the younger one just went to Connecticut to meet up with a boyfriend. But now I think we're off the track, if you want.
Yeah. So how was Canarsie back then?
Canarsie, when we moved in, there were no, the streets weren't paved. Every time a car went down the street, we got all the dust and dirt or mud. And when my daughter went to PS 276, we walked her around in the mud, and her boots and everything got stuck in the mud. And they came and took pictures of it because we had to dig her boots out in order for her to be able to wear shoes, because everything was all wet and muddy.
And this was when rain fell, or every day?
No, that's when it was wet. It waited until the weather was nice enough to dry it out.
Okay. So was it really swampland when you first moved to Canarsie?
Oh no, there were homes being built all over the place.
Right.
And synagogues and churches and all. And the old homes were mixed in with it. And there were some nice old homes there. I'm not used to talking so much.
Okay, can you tell me what makes Brooklyn so special? Because you've been born in Brooklyn, you've lived in different communities, and you're still living in Brooklyn. So what are the things about the neighborhoods that you've lived in? If you could talk about each of the neighborhoods that you think made it a great place to live. Sheepshead Bay, Canarsie, and anywhere else that you have lived in.
In Brooklyn, there were sections that are divided off. Like, this is a Jewish area, and this one is a different kind of an area. The Irish people live in this section. And, it seems like you can get everything you need here in Brooklyn. There are stores that you can buy food, all kinds of ethnic food. We have Russian neighborhood, like the book that we read. And I think,
What's the name of the last book that you read?
The one that we read was at the Russian, that was...
it's set in Brighton Beach.
Yeah, that was...
Vaclav and Lena.
Yeah, my sister lived in Brighton Beach. It's all Russian, Brighton Beach. And also, the transportation here. It was good when I was a kid. The same stations, like a Brighton local and a Brighton express. That's it. If you wanted the local, was on one side, the express was on that side, and it was very easy to commute.
And it still is. Is there anything else that you think that you like?
When I was young and I was alone with my father, if I wanted to go to New York City, I got on the train by myself, In fact, because I was into music at a young age, PS 250 tour, they gave me tickets for the hall. I took the train to Carnegie Hall with
By
my
yourself?
saddles and socks. And people there were dressed in, women were dressed in gowns, and the men were in tuxedos, and I was sitting in the best seat in the house.
What music did you play? What
I
instrument?
played piano.
Piano.
I taught piano for 26 years before I got the job at the Lighthouse. And I also learned how to do music braille for blind musicians. You know what it's
I
all
know, I know the braille. Did you really enjoy? I guess you enjoyed
I
that job.
loved that job, yeah. I did. I wouldn't have left it, but I felt it was already enough time. And when I was 83, and I'm still working,
Oh yeah, you wanted to.
I said, maybe it's time to stop.
But at least you've had a long and very productive career. In
Yeah.
fact, 2 careers.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's good.
When one was ready to end, well, I stopped giving the lessons because I couldn't come home and give lessons after a day at work. But I really enjoyed that job.
Do you still play the piano at home just for yourself?
No, I don't because I have arthritis. But also, there's so much music in my house because my daughter is a music teacher. My grandson is a music teacher. He teaches in Williamsburg, an all-girls school, children who are needy, and it's working out wonderfully. Wonderful. He loves that job.
Is there any message you would like to leave for future generations who will hear this interview?
I don't know. It's hard I don't know. I was never very quick on to be able to write something.
Okay. We can always come back to that. Is there anything that we have not discussed that you would like to add to this interview about when you were growing up, or the communities, or the people?
I'm sure when I get home I'll think of all the things I should have said.
That's fine.
Well, I'll say one thing though. The day I came into the library, I went to the King's Highway Library first. And I asked one man sitting at the desk, do they have a book review here, club? He said, I don't know. And then he pointed me to the New York Times book review. I said, no, I don't mean that. I mean like to get together and discuss the book. He didn't know. So I went to the next person. I said, do we have a book club here? Book review? Yeah. She said, I don't think so. So then we went to the, where they post all the signs. And I see, it says book review. So I showed it to her. I said, oh, look, you do have one. Oh, she said, okay, I didn't know. So she wasn't able to give me any information, no phone number. That's when I came here.
To Kingsley.
And when I came here, they were so nice. The 2 people that took care of me, one of them I know, she's a pawn. What was her name? Yeah, and what is this little lady's name? They were so accommodating. They told me the name of the book. They did everything for me, and that's when I said, here's where I'm going to stay.
And you live near to this library?
Yeah, I could actually walk it, but with my leg the way it is now, I can't. I drive. I still drive.
Okay, so
I live on Gerritsen. I don't know if you know the area.
Oh yes,
You know
I've worked at Gerritsen Library, so I know Gerritsen Avenue also.
Well, this is Gerritsen all the way up by Nostrum.
So you're mentioning another Brooklyn community, Gerritsen Beach. How long have you lived in Gerritsen Beach?
I never lived in Gerritsen Beach.
Oh, just the Gerritsen Avenue?
I'm just on Gerritsen Avenue. That starts.
Oh, that's the
and
start.
It ends. It goes all the way into Gerritsen Beach.
Okay. Alright, so we're going to conclude this interview. Fran, I would like to thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
It was really my pleasure.
Really,
I don't
really
think I gave you enough of what you wanted.
No, we did get some information about Brooklyn and life, how it was back then and growing up. Yeah, Yes, so I really, I'm pleased that you came out to give us this insight,
Yeah.
this oral history for this program, this project. It's called, once again, the Brooklyn Public Library, Our Streets, Our Stories. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.